Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning everyone. So how are you today? Semua okay ke? Alright. So alright, thank you. Okay, thank you Liana. Alright. How about Basira? Are you here? Hello Basira?
Doktor,
Yeah.
ada.
Okay, how are you? Sihat?
Baik. Sihat.
Okay. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Right. So today we are going to discuss, all right, to learn about ANOVA analysis of variance, which is on page 109. All right. So please make sure you're on that page, so at least you understand what I'm trying to convey or trying to explain to you all. So it will be clearer if you have your book in front of you and also your WebEx. All right. So let's continue with our lecture. Okay. So yeah, after, all right, I'm trying very hard. Okay, I'm trying very hard to at least one example of the this chapter in using SPSS. So at least you know how to apply it. You know when using SPSS. Right. So let's have the okay. This one is actually chapter 9 in our book. It's not chapter 10. So let me change it. So I don't want you to be confused. Okay. Supposed to be chapter 9, right? Analysis of variance. Okay. Or the glamorous name, it is called as ANOVA. So ANOVA, the word ANOVA is actually comes from the word analysis of variance. Okay. Usually for people, we always refer this type of data analysis to ANOVA rather than we use the long name analysis of variance. So when people ask you, okay, which method do you use for your data analysis? then you can say it, I'm using ANOVA, right? Instead of analysis of variance. Okay, what is actually ANOVA? ANOVA is actually an extension of, an extension of t-test. Okay, so we have learned t-test before. Okay, in our previous chapter, chapter 8. Okay, so we have the first step of t-test is one sample, right? That one we use t distribution, and then we proceed to the next level, which is t-test for two samples, right? So when we have t-test for two sample, so we have two types. One we call it as independent sample, and the other one we call it as dependent samples, right? So we have only two samples for the t-test. But then in the real life, usually we are not just comparing, two samples or two groups of people, but we sometimes have more than two groups or two samples, two populations, all right? So if you want to compare more than two samples, t-test is no longer valid to be used, but instead we need to use something else, another statistical tools, okay, in order to analyze these samples. So what is it? So we can use ANOVA for more than two samples. When we want to compare means more than two samples, right? So here, for the t-test, we have only two samples. But for ANOVA, we can have, two samples, three sample, four sample, how many samples? It depends on our population or our study. So in order to compare these means, all right, these two, for example, in the t-test, the procedure that we need to use, the first thing, we need to perform the leave-in test, right? And then the second one, we need to perform the t-test, right? So the purpose of doing the leave-in test is actually to compare variance. So what does it mean by comparing the variance? We need to make sure all the data in here, okay, in group 1 and group 2, they are almost equal, right? And they are fair to be compared. So that's what the purpose of leave-in test, to check the equality of variances, right? So if we found that, okay, the best is actually to have equal variance, okay? Once we have checked the leave-in test, then only we can do the t-test to compare the means, all right? When I say to compare the means, it means that we need to compare the means of the data inside. So this data here is actually quantitative data, all right? The one that you want to compare. But the group, you can divide them into two different groups, and we can use name, which is nominal qualitative data. Okay. And from t-test, only stop until two samples. But if we have more than two samples, we need to use another tool which is called ANOVA. So in ANOVA, the procedure will be the same, okay? So the first thing we need to check group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. The data in here should be the same, should be equal, right? To be compared, to be fair, to be fair. So we cannot, compare, like not good people with good people. So we don't have to make any data analysis, okay? Because we already know which one is good, which one is not good, right? So the compare means we do when we are not sure who is actually good, who is actually bad, who is actually, are they equal or what, all right? So when we not sure, all right? So that's the reason we do the data analysis. So in ANOVA, we also need to do the first step, we need to do the leave-in test, and then we can use ANOVA, right? So the purpose again, the leave-in test in ANOVA to check the equality of variance. Okay, variance like equal data, right? And then ANOVA, we use to check, to compare the means, right? So before we can compare the means, we must do the leave-in test first, right? Is everybody okay? I really, really hope that you can understand because I keep emphasizing this. So I'm not just, lecture you, giving you this knowledge for this class, but for your future, for your FYP. And also, who knows, in one day, your boss asks you to do data analysis. You can volunteer yourself and tell your boss, boss, I have an experience doing the data analysis. Can I do it? Can I offer myself? You know, I'm sure your boss will be impressed. All right. Right. So that's all about, the t-test and ANOVA. So what I can summarize. So the first thing, we need to do the living test, okay, to check the equality of variances. And then the second step that we need to do ANOVA test, right? And to check the equality of means. Right? So there are two things, two tests that we need to do for this ANOVA analysis. Right. So the purpose of ANOVA is much the same as the t-test presented in the preceding three chapters that we have. Okay. One sample, independent, and also dependent. The goal is to determine whether the mean difference. When I say mean, so it means the data that we need to compare is quantitative, right? Quantitative. Why? Because only quantitative or data with number we can calculate the mean. Okay, so we want to check the mean differences that are obtained for sample data are sufficient large to justify a conclusion whether there are mean differences, okay, between the population, the samples, or the groups, all right? And then t-test and ANOVA. A t-test can compare only two means at a time, but ANOVA, okay, where we can compare two or more means at one time, okay? So this is the beauty of ANOVA. Okay, so later on in this chapter, so I will introduce you with some terms like factor, mean squares, sum squares, MSE, mean squares error, MST, mean squares treatment. Okay, when I say squares kat sini, it's not the shape, not that square, right? Not this one. But square means here is this square, right? Ganda dua, right? So that's what it means. So what does it mean by mean square? You find, okay, actually the formula for ANOVA is like x1, 2, okay, square all the squares, and then you sum it, and then you divide it, right? So this is what we call it as mean square. You add all the squares, and then you find the mean, okay? When I say sum of squares, it means that you need to sum up all the squares, okay? So this is actually related to the ANOVA formula, right? So this is example, all right? So let's say we would like to compare three groups or three samples that we obtain them from population, three different population. So we have population 1, population 2, and also population 3. Remember I said sometimes we call it as treatment, okay? So why is it treatment? As one of actually ANOVA tests is a they are very popular among the medical people and also psychologists, psychiatrists. Okay, so usually they give them the patients different treatment, and they would like to see whether the treatment that they have given effective or not. All right, so that's why sometimes in statistics it is very popular when we say okay, treatment 1, treatment 2, and treatment 3, right? So from each group or each sample or treatment, okay, so we need to calculate the mean, okay, for the first one where we call it as mu1, And then we need to calculate the mean for population 2, group 2, treatment 2, or, sample 2, right? So we have different name, but actually refer to the same thing, right? And then we calculate what is the mean, and then we calculate the mean for population 3. So our purpose here is actually to check whether these three means actually equal or not, all right? So if all the three means are equal, so it means that the treatment are the same. It is not really make any difference to the patients, to the subject, to the respondent. So because it's just the same. So if we found that one of the mean, let's say this mean is not the same as this mean, we need to find out which mean or which group is actually make a difference, right? So that's the purpose of doing ANOVA. Is everybody okay? Okay, right. So actually, in order to use the formula for the ANOVA, all right, but you are more doing more using SPSS, okay? So you are very lucky. So, but I'm still going to introduce some of the formula. At least you know how the output in SPSS um, is obtained. All right. So, for example, you need to know the n, okay, and then m is stands for the mean, okay, mean one. This one is mean two, and then this one is mean three. SS is actually sum of squares, the one that I told you just now. Right. So DF, when we need to calculate the DF, is supposed to this one n minus one. So the DF will be 14. So this one also 14, and this one also 14, right? So if we want to calculate the whole DF, so 14 plus 14 plus 14. Okay. Why this method, all right? The statistical tools is called analysis of variance. Okay, remember variance means differences, all right? Differences between the data. Or it comes from the standard deviation. The standard deviation is actually measurement or the value of distance from the data from the mean, from the center. So variance is actually the square root of that distance. So every data, they have different distance. Okay, so that's the reason we call it variance, right? So it is actually the location or its distance from the mean, from the center. So analysis of variance, why it is called analysis of variance? Because we need to think about the variance, the difference, okay? There are two types of difference in the analysis or in the data. So the first one, we call it variance within the group, right? And then the second one, variance between the group, right? So what does it mean by variance within the group? So you have data. So for example, you have 3, 4, 16, and 2, for example. So what I can see, this one only within the group itself. So what I can say, 16 is actually not fit, okay, to be in this group because it's too far from the mean. Whereas 3, 4, and 2 actually very near to the mean, right? So 16 is our problem. So it will make our analysis not really good later. So that's the reason we need to look at the within the group first before we can compare with other group. So the best is actually to remove the 16 out, all right? So we can only compare people or subjects, actually equal because we would like to be fair to everyone, right? So therefore, that's the first difference that you need to pay attention to, right? So within the group itself. So when you select, like for example, you would like to compare, okay, all right, you will like students from UTM. So make sure they are sewaktu dengan you. They are almost equal, have the same score, have the same marks, alright? Have the same apa orang cakap values and so on, alright? And after you already confirm that the variance within the group is okay, then you can proceed to the next level. You need to check the variance between the group. Now I have UTM and UKM, for example, okay, University Technology Malaysia and University Kebangsaan Malaysia. So when you want to compare, so we already have 342 here for UTM. So we cannot compare, let's say 16, 100, and then 20 from UKM. So because they are not equal, they are two different groups. One is good, one is not good, right? One is very low marks, the other one is very high mark. So we need to make sure the variance between the groups between UTM and UKM also equal. So maybe we can take, responder like 4, 5, 2, okay? So they look similar or the difference is not big, right? So do you understand? Ada faham ke? Okay, let me hear something from Aida. Aida cakap pagi-pagi dia dah kena panggil nama. Alright, Aida. Are you here, Aida?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, do you understand what does it mean by variance within the group? Boleh tak terangkan sikit, Aida? Apa maksud variance or difference within the group? Hmm. Penat ni saya cakap, Aida. Berkobar-kobar saya cakap berapi-api tadi. Okay, can you explain sikit? Okay, people, when I ask you, actually, I'm not trying to torture you, but it's just that I would like to reflect myself whether, my lecture is apa understood by my students or not, right? So you say something, Aida. Aida,
Uh, the differences within
the
individuals.
group, huh? Within the group. Dah
Doctor.
bangun ke belum ni? Ya, apa dia maksudnya? What does it mean?
Doktor,
Yes?
kenapa
Say,
kenapa kita perlu rendahkan min?
apa dia?
Kenapa kita perlu rendahkan min kan dalam kotak ni?
Kenapa kita
Rendahkan min. Min kan?
rendahkan yang mana satu? Okay. Bagus ni, soalan yang bagus. Mungkin your friends also have the same problem. Okay. Apa maksudnya? Who's talking by the way?
Hasha, Nurul Hasha.
Okay, Aisyah. Apa Aisyah?
Kan Dr. Chow 3, 4, 16 tu dia jadi masalah sebab dia besar. Jadi
Ya.
apa perlu kita buat?
Okay, macam ni yang 3, 4. Okay, the 3, 4, 16 and 2 is actually the data. For example, you ask them, okay, their quiz score, right? The quiz score is over 10, for example, over 10. Or, over 10 or 20, for example. So, what you need to do when you select people, your respondent, in UTM, for example, they must have almost equal marker score. Okay, so if someone, okay, you compare 3, 4, 2, and then 16, okay, orang yang dapat markah 16 is too high. So that person shouldn't be in our analysis. Faham tak Asha? Sebab dia pandai sangat, too clever. Okay, so is it fair for us to compare this clever person dengan those people who have marks 3, 4 and 2? Is it fair?
Tak adil.
Tak adil kan?
Jadi kita
So,
cancel 16 tu.
yes, kita boleh buang orang ni daripada analysis. Remove this person from our research, from our study. Remove. Because we don't want to study about that person. Because you know what? When we draw the normal distribution, it will be like this. It will be skewed because here is the 16. The rest is 2, 3, 4 is here. So dia ni outlier. It's like, something extraordinary. So we don't want this person to be in our analysis. Once we remove that person, this person, our distribution will become normal, right? Because everybody will be near the mean. That's what we want to do. Faham tak, Asha? Do you understand now?
Saya faham dah. Supaya dia punya normal distribution jadi
Normal.
bang kan?
Ha. Sebab kalau ada seorang je yang spoil our data, okay, in our data, so it will spoil the distribution later on. Okay. Same thing when we want to compare between pula. This one only we need to tick inside the one group. But then the second, we need to think about the difference between the group. So if remember, the purpose of doing ANOVA is to compare more than two groups. So just imagine you have UKM, UTM, USM. So you need, the first step, you need to make sure the people inside the university, they have almost equal scores or marks. Only then you can check pula between UTM and UKM, they also have almost equal marks. Understand? Okay, any question? I like this kind of question because you know what? If you don't ask, you don't understand, how can you apply it? I'm sure you can, it's going to be very hard for you to apply whatever you have learned. Oh, saya suka. That's the reason sebenarnya I like face-to-face class. Because we can do, like activity for you to understand. All right. So anything else? Okay. Thank you, Hasha, for asking. Okay, let me ask somebody else. Mingyi. Mingyi, are you here?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, do you understand? The two variants or two difference within and between the group. Okay. Do you understand?
Okay.
Huh? Ada soalan tak? Maybe you want to ask something to clarify?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay, so how about Awab? Awab, are you here? Yeah, Awab, are you here? Are you still sleeping or what? Huyi? Huyi?
Doctor?
Okay, faham tak? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Just tell me, Huyi, what do you understand by variance between the groups?
Between the you compare with
Tak dengar
two
sangat
group.
lah, Huyi. Apa dia?
Dia compare with two group.
Okay. And then what should we make sure regarding these two groups? Okay.
The means will will similar, not too more number or too that.
Right. So all right. So let me give example. Yeah.
Sorry, doctor.
Yes.
So about the difference between the group,
Yeah.
what I'm understanding, it's we can compare the different column has different marks.
Okay. Not actually different marks, but the difference is very obvious or significant, very high. Okay, the
Yeah.
gap between the scores or the marks are different, very very different.
Yeah.
Not just maybe If the difference is like 1 or 2, 5, we
Yeah,
can
like
consider.
we
Yeah.
already write down like 100 to
Yeah.
2 or 50 to 5, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too far. All right. That's true. So for example, yeah, okay, let me show you. So I have salary. I would like to compare the salary between those who work in Celcom, DG, and Maxis, right? So here I'm trying to compare the salary. I would like to check or to determine whether the salary received by employees in Celcom, DG or Max is equal or not. Okay. So in order to check, okay, the salary, the equality of the salary, I'm going to calculate later on the mean. All right. I'm using to compare the mean 1, mean 2, and also mean 3. But before we can compare the means, we need to check two differences or two variances, okay? So the first one is people in Celcom. Let's say I'm going to select 10 people here, 10 and 8 people here, and then I select, let's say, 15 here, right? Okay, for the 10 people, I need to make sure in this Celcom, they have almost equal salary. So let's say they receive, 1,500 and then 1,550 and then 1,300. And suddenly what happened if I include those people, one person, actually the salary is 10,000. Do you think that it is fair for this person to be here in this Helcom group? Is it fair or not? No. Okay? Because this person has too high, the salary is too high. Therefore, we don't want this person to be in our analysis, right? So we need to take her or him out from our study. Right? So we need to maintain with those people who have, almost equal salary, right? That what we call it variance within the group, right?
Uh, Sorry, doctor.
Okay.
Uh, that person, for example, this person have 10,000. We can easily remove him without formula, without anything.
Yeah, because for sure that's the reason, as I told you, we can do it based on not equal variance. Okay, because we need to check the variance within the group first. So it means that we need to clean not suitable data in the group. That's the we call it, that technique is cleaning, data cleaning.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I
Right?
got it, doctor.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we can simply remove that person without asking whether asking an expert or whatever. All right. So because it is based on logic, right? And then next one. Okay, we already settled with the self-com people because those people selected in our study, they have almost equal salary. Fine, good, right? Now we need to look at DG and Maxis. Okay, same thing. We need to look at DG. The same thing. We need to look at the people from Maxis, right? So for example, I say, okay, in DG, let's say I found 1,350 and then 1,600, and then I have, like 2,500 and then 1,800. So for DG also settle. So they are almost similar. All right. They are not too far. Okay. And then the maxis, okay, let's say I have 1,750, 1,900, and then suddenly I got here 7,000, 6,700, and then this one 3,000. Okay, so look at Maxis. There's also something before we can compare Maxis with Celcom and DG. Look at the within the group. So we also have a problem here. Okay, these people is too high. Okay, so we need to remove the 6,000 person from our whole analysis because in Maxis that person failed, And even when we want to compare with DJ and Cellcom, that person also failed. All right, so we need to remove that one. Okay, so that's what we call it as variance between the group. All right, so there are two variances that you need to check before you can proceed: within and between. So that's the purpose of doing the leaving test. Remember, the leaving test is actually to check the variance 1, variance 2, and also variance 3, whether they are equal or not. If they are not equal, then it means that you cannot do ANOVA. ANOVA cannot be done because they have different variance. ANOVA can only be done, can only be proceed when you have the variance equal. When I say the variance, they have similar salary, similar marks, or similar data, right? Okay. This is the example when I give assignment to my students, right? So I ask them to use ANOVA, all right, in their study. So remember, guys, you also need to continue with your survey, your mini project after this, okay? So we are going to meet hopefully next week if we can manage, okay, to see face to face. It's easy for me to explain regarding your assignment, okay, what you need to do next. All right. So this is an example. So one of my students, one of the groups is actually, they did to compare the age of the first marriage of three different races, the three different ethnics, okay? So now what they want to do is to compare the age, okay? The age of the first marriage. They want to see whether the Malays, okay? Later on we have mean 1 for the age of the Malays, mean 2 for the Indians, and then 3 for the Chinese. So they found that, okay, from their analysis, that the age is, they have the mean of the age is actually different. Okay, they found that the Malays and Indians, they have early age of marriage, but not the Chinese. The Chinese is divided into two categories. They got married very early, or they got married very late, but not for the Chinese, for the Indians and Malays. Okay, so that's a very good example. So at least you can see we can we can compare the age, but then we want to compare between three different ethnics. So we need to use ANOVA. All right. All right. The assumptions. The assumption will be the same actually for the normal distribution, for the Z-test, T-test, and also now we are using ANOVA. ANOVA, if normal before we use the Z-test, that Z distribution or normal distribution, and then we use T distribution, we use different table, statistical table, and for ANOVA, we use F distribution. Okay? So also different table. So for the F distribution, if T we have, okay, we have DF, but for F we have two DF, okay, DF1 and DF2. Okay, two degree of freedom. One is for within the group, and the other one is for between the group degree of freedom. So two types, yeah. So the population from which the sample drawn has the same variance. This is very, very important. Okay, so the first thing normal and then same variance. That's why we need to use the leaving test, all right, to test this one. And then the sample drawn from different population are random and independent. So it means that the group 1, group 2, and group 3, you select them randomly without bias, and also they are not related at all, right? So they are like, just now we have Cellcom, DG, and Maxis, two different organizations. So they are not related at all. Okay. So what do we need to do for the analysis? So the first one, we need to do the leave-in test. So the leave-in test is to check the equality of variances. So if the leave-in test shows that the variances are equal, which is except H naught, then we can proceed to ANOVA. If we reject H naught, so it means that the variances are not equal, you need to stop, right? So this is in the real life lah. Tapi kalau dalam exam, you kena continue juga. Okay, you need to stop. It means that you need to find some other way to analyze your data. Okay, that's the reality. All right. So, and then you need to perform the ANOVA test. If the HO is rejected, one of the means is different. So we have, okay, so if we reject the H naught, usually H naught, the mean 1 is equal to mean 2 is equal to mean 3, for example. So if we reject, so it means that one of the means is different. So they are not equal. Then you need to proceed to another test, which is called as post hoc test, right? So the difference of the post hoc test is to check which of the mean is actually different. Remember I said just now, so if the mean different, so we want to see, we want to check actually who make the difference, okay? Who make the difference, all right? So by using the post hoc test, we are going to apply a test called Turkey. Okay, not Turkey, but Turkey, all right? Not Turkey. And then also we are going to learn about means plot. So means plot is actually to help us to see better, all right, the results in the post hoc test, right? So I think what you need to do, people, if you want to write this one somewhere in your chapter 9, okay, so you can, okay, I give you 3 minutes, all right, to copy this one down anywhere. So at least you, while writing, actually your brain is also, you know, digesting what you are writing. Okay, so can you write this one somewhere? Ramla, apa khabar ini Ramla?
Yes, doctor.
Sihat ke?
I'm not feeling so well today because
Kenapa?
I've had a flu.
Flu?
So
Ke
semua je,
dah
doctor.
miss kampung? Belum apa-apa lagi dah miss kampung. Baru 2 minggu balik.
I don't know, maybe different weather, changes of
Weather,
weather.
yeah. Betul. Because suddenly this week is too hot.
Oh, yes.
You know
That's
what
right.
happened? Actually, I'm in UTM KL now. Okay. So I last 2 days, okay, when I arrived here, I tried to get mineral water from all the shops here. They are all, you know, no stock, no stock of mineral water. Can you imagine? So I say, what happened? They say because the weather is too hot. So there are two students, outsiders, you know, bought this mineral water. So itulah I pun oh ya ke? So luckily because I'm attending a workshop, so they provide us with the mineral water. So saya memang sapu all the mineral water in the workshop. Okay, done? Semua okay? Kenapa ketawa sangat Roha? Suka sangat? Okay, alright. So kalau dah, so can we continue? Alright, let's continue with the next slides. Okay, so what I want you to do, alright, people, so on page 109, okay, at the top of the page, just before the analysis of variance, the topic, so I would like you to write purpose, objective of this chapter. Can you please write objective of this chapter? 1. Okay, are you writing or not? Jing Chen, dengar ke tak?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, are you writing what I'm saying now? Okay,
Yes.
objectives of this chapter at the very top on page 109. Okay, one, live-in test. Okay, you need to do live-in test. Two, ANOVA test. Number three, ANOVA table. Okay, so there are three objectives or three things that you really need to know how to do it. First, how to do the live-in test. Second, the ANOVA test. And the third one is ANOVA table. Suppose the ANOVA table should be number one. Baru live-in test and also, but it doesn't matter, right? So this is what we call it as ANOVA table. So you need to have this ANOVA table. You need to understand how the numbers come from, and then how to do it, how to read from your SPSS output. Very important. Okay, so remember this one is actually source of variance. Okay, source of variation. Okay, variance or whatever. Okay, so there are two variants in ANOVA. So the first one between the treatment, remember we use treatment for group, for population sample, but usually in statistics they call it treatment. Okay, treatment means group. Okay, between treatment and then within the treatment. So you look here, they call it as error within the treatment. Why does it error? Because if you don't handle the variance within the group, so it's going to blunt the whole thing. Okay, you're going to blunder the whole thing. So that's the reason you need to really check the within the group first, the variance within the group. Only you can proceed between the group and so on. Okay, so if the within the group is actually not satisfied at all, so it's going to give you error. So that's the reason variance within the treatment, it is also known as error. Okay, so remember I told you SS, what does it mean? Okay, this one on page apa ya? Anyone? Yang table ni dekat muka surat berapa? Can someone tell me? 113. Okay, thank you Atika. Okay, so SS bukannya short sendiri, alright, but SS is sum of squares, right? I already explained just now what does it mean. And DF is degree of freedom. MS is actually mean squares. F is actually F distribution, right? So the F test, sometimes we call it as F test, right? So we have Z test, T test, F test, right? So, and then you must, ANOVA table, you must have all this information. Very important, okay? Usually what the easiest one, okay, the easiest value that we can find is this one, number one, okay? Okay, I put it here, right? Number one, okay? Sorry, we start with DF, okay? This one, number one, number two, number three, right? And then usually we have this one, all this number. But how do I get all this SST, SSE? So it's actually come from the formula, okay? ANOVA formula in order to find this one. But usually you will be given one of these in your exam, right? And then you can calculate the whole thing. You can calculate the whole values in this table. But always start with this one, the easiest one, for the DF part first, and then the between treatment, DF for the between treatment, and then within treatment. Okay, so what does it mean by n minus 1? So let's say your n is equal to 100. So your n, your degree of freedom for the total will be 99, n minus 1. What does it mean by K? K is actually treatment or group. Ataupun saya panggil sebenarnya kumpulan, right? So if you want to compare, for example, just now we have three different groups, Cellcom, Digital, and DG, and also Maxis. So we have three groups. So it means that our K is equal to 3. So this one is, the number is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So, and then at the end, in order to get this number right here, so what number is actually 99 minus 2? So we have here will be 97, because 2 plus 97, the total will be 99. All right, is everybody okay? Right. So as I told you, this number will be given, usually will be given in your test or the final exam. All right. Sorry, in the quiz. Nanti kita buat the quiz, okay, on this one. Okay, before I forget, next week you are going to have your second quiz, right? So I will let you know. I will confirm it on on Sunday next week. All right. So this one, right? So this MST mean, all right, mean, so it's actually equal to SST minus the DF here, right? So this number, you got it, this number divide by ni dapat this one, all right? So this number divide by this one, you get this one, all right? So that's why, how actually you calculate the mean. And then for the F, in order to get the value of F, this number MST divide, okay, divide by MSC, and then you will get this value. Right, don't worry. So we will, I will give you example, the real number, so at least you can understand how actually all these values can be calculated. Eh? Right. So right, variability. Remember, variability is a variance. So we have two different variants. Okay, so variance between the group and within the group. If we calculate them, we got the total variability. All right. So this is only that you need to know. All right. So okay, I'm going to talk starting from the hypothesis. Right. So in our next meeting on Sunday. Right. So before we end our class, so do you have any questions that you want to ask? Okay, nanti kita akan buat ni lah, terus contoh untuk examples for the ANOVA, and we are going to use SPSS on Sunday. So it means that we don't have much time to do SPSS today. Right. Any question? Yes.
Doctor?
Yeah. Who you? Oh, who are you?
Yeah, doctor.
Sorry.
Doctor, you can call me Go.
Okay, okay. Because okay, I call you Go. Because sometimes you know why? It is very hard when I call people Go. I tak tahu dia male ke female.
Oh,
You understand? That's the reason I prefer to call the Chinese using the first name. Their
oh,
first name. Because Go, everybody time, everybody go.
alright,
Okay.
alright.
Alright, never mind. Okay.
I have a question regarding our Sunday class on next week is online or face-to-face class.
Yes, online.
Sunday still remain online.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you,
Okay,
doctor.
because you know what? Next week will be week 12, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's going to be very crowded in the faculty. So that's the reason I try to avoid Sunday class to be handled, to be conducted face to face. Because I'm sure, why? Do you have any problem, guys?
no.
No, because as I told you before, the other problem is to get a room.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so all the lecturers, I'm not sure how are they going to do it. Okay, because after 2 years, we conduct our class. We have conducted our class online. Now, in order to get a room, I'm sure everybody is going to dapatkan bilik. Alright. So that's why I would like to see how it goes next week, and then we'll decide for the next meeting the following week, right? So kita
Okay.
tengok dulu macam mana orang lain.
Okay, and then I remember last few weeks when we do our face-to-face midterm exam at the faculty, and then I remember at 10 a.m. is no bus service. If I'm
At
not
what?
mistaken.
Sorry?
No bus service.
Oh, I see. Okay, I think starting from next week, the bus will be scheduled normal. No, normal schedule.
So, uh,
Okay,
so
because I think, but when I look at the bus, some of the buses, pass by our faculty, but no student. So the bus is empty.
okay.
Right, so I'm sure next week the schedule will be much, much better because everybody is coming back. So I'm sure the faculty, the administrators, will make sure that the bus will be available for, all students from different colleges. Yeah.
So does will have a new bus schedule on next week?
Itulah, I'm not sure. Maybe you can ask, some friends, especially your seniors. Um, okay, so maybe what you can do, you just remind me. Okay, maybe I can check with the admin people. All right. So just
Alright.
remind me. Because actually I will be in KL. Until Friday. So maybe, Thursday maybe. Yeah, maybe Thursday afternoon. Just WhatsApp me to remind.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, and then doctor,
Mm-hmm.
uh, last week you have give us a
Homework assignment. Is that you want to ask? Why? Suddenly is so quiet?
So I think she got disconnected.
Itulah kan. Tiba-tiba Esther dia hilang. Esther. Okay. So I think she wants to ask regarding the assignment that I assigned whether. Okay. So what you can do, people? Yeah, I give you, okay, until Sunday next week. Is it okay for you to submit the assignment? Actually, I prefer to be in hard copy. Okay,
doctor,
maybe,
doctor.
huh?
Sorry, can you repeat again? Just now I
Itulah.
lost connection.
Where have you been? Okay, 13 on Sunday, not 13, that one is too far, okay? So, okay, I'll give you more time, okay, for your homework because I want you to submit hard copy. So I will extend the date, supposedly on this Thursday, okay, the last day to submit the homework, okay? But you can submit Sunday next week because what you can do, maybe one person collect from as many people as you can and then submit to me on Sunday. All right? Is it okay? Sunday anytime, until 5 o'clock p.m. So that's what you need to do. Right?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay, welcome. So since you say the bus is not okay, so let's I think it's fair to give you, until Sunday. Hopefully everything will be fine. Okay, so I think that's all. Okay, let me get your attendance. Okay, section 2 first. Okay, once you scan, you can leave the session. Thank you very much. See you on Sunday. People, there are also there's an alternative. All right, what you can do if you already completed, okay, your homework. What you can do, you collect, among your friends, and then you can put a plastic bag. Just hang it, at the knob of my door. Right? So just put all your homework there because I won't be in the faculty until Saturday. This Saturday, I'm going to have a class. So, yeah, I will go to the office for those who want to submit earlier. Right?
Even if we collect it from our friends,
then should we combine it together for section 1 and section 2, or we separate the submission?
Okay, if better if we have two different, bags or two different buckets, whatever, right? So please separate section 1 and section 2.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for asking.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome, okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome. All right, so I stop here for section 2. Let's go section 1.